Lesson 10. We will talk of nothing else. In 1851, the U.S. Treaty Commissioners believed that by first completing a treaty with the upper bands of Dakota at Traverse des Sioux, it would persuade the lower bands at Mendota to do the same. This was not the case. Upon meeting the lower bands, the Dakota were quite reluctant to speak on the terms of the new treaty. The Treaty Commissioners persisted, but so too did the Dakota and Chief Little Crow, who stated, "We will talk of nothing else but money if it is until next spring. That lies in the way of a treaty." Shortly after Little Crow's statement, negotiations were broken off and did not resume for another 4 days. 14 years earlier, in 1837, the United States government completed a treaty with the Metawakan Dakota. In this treaty, the Dakota ceded approximately 5 million acres of land east of the Mississippi River in exchange for annuities as well as goods and services. The majority of the promised annuities and payments were made to the Dakota with the exception of one disputed clause. The language of the clause is technical, but it was generally agreed that according to this clause, the government would pay $5,000 annually for the benefit of the Dakota. This became known as the Education Fund, because in the first few years it was given into the hands of the missionaries for the purpose of education. But this angered the Dakota, who believed the money was intended to be paid to them directly. Because of the disagreement, the money was no longer forwarded to the Dakota or the missionaries, and by 1850 the payments had accumulated to an excess of $50,000. By the time it came to negotiate the Treaty of Mendota in 1851, the Dakota were already dissatisfied with the United States government and did not wish to negotiate a new treaty until they had received the money for the previous treaty. As argued by historian Linda Clemmons, the Treaty of 1837 may have been a turning point in government-Dakota relations, which led the Dakota to distrust the government for years to follow.